The authority of. And find a message about the plane. Central, we need the bomb squad in ESU over King and 9414, hold up. Five the message about the remote control plane. Jason Torres on the air. Central, I got a message on that plane. It's a big truck with a mural painted of an airplane diving into New York City and exploding. I don't know what's in the truck. The truck is in between 6th and 7th on King Street. Alright, Central, I'll send you in the bus right there for Westgate. With a mural painted airplane diving into New York, blowing up. Two men got out of the truck, ran away from it. We got those two under. That's good. You got those? Are you holding those two guys, Kate? We got them under. Let's get some music going here. Listen to that. Fucking beat the shit out of them. Right here. Alright, listen, you need any further on those two guys over there? You alright over there, Kate? We have both suspects under, Kay. We have the suspects who drove in the van exploded. We have both of them under, Kay. Let's get some help over here. Now, I'm sending you ESU there. I just want to make sure you and your guys are alright over there, Kay. That's all. What's the location, Kay? Put them up. You know, we have both Neotrans driven that exploded. Resurrect.
Established connection now was seen as Deborah Fayrick. The reports we're getting now, 2 or 3 men arrested on the New Jersey Parkway. Deborah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad. The fact of the matter is, we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event.
The 5 Israelis were detained for 10 weeks and finally deported on immigration violations after the FBI cleared them of any involvement in 9/11.
This was an insane war that brought us low economically, morally. We went to war against a guy who had absolutely nothing to do with 9/11. It was a total pretext. It's inexplicable. And there you go to Cheney, there you go to Bush, there you go to the Jewish neocons who wanted to remake the world. Maybe I can say that.
Scenario like this. If I would have come forward with something like a possibility like this, they would have laughed. I mean, this has all of the worst case scenarios put together into one. This is monumental. This will be something that, you got Gary Condon in the news, you have OJ. This is something that we're going to be looking at for the next couple of years, unfortunately, and not just from a media perspective, but from the people who've witnessed this. I mean, when you think of the psychological trauma this is going to cause to New Yorkers and to Americans, it's monumental. It's off the map.
As you see the scope of this and the methodical way in which it appears to have been planned and happened, and again, we don't know what truly occurred, but there's talk of aircraft being hijacked,
right,
of second explosions, of etc., etc. What if there are signals you can read in that as an expert on all of this? What can you tell us about that?
Well, it shows that in the last couple of years, and I just got off of the embassy bombing trial. I was involved in that, and I've seen a picture painted of Osama bin Laden. Not to say that he's involved in this necessarily, but of his network and his ability to try to do damage to the United States. And over the last couple of years,
for justice. Given what has been going on around the world, some of the key suspects come to mind. Osama bin Laden.
Indicators do seem to point to Osama bin Laden being responsible for this attack.
That they're looking at it.
There was this grand conspiracy of the neocons, and you said Jewish neocons, that they somehow went to war on a pretext for the state of Israel.
It raises a suspicion of a cover-up by the CIA of activities that they're not proud of activities they think the public ought not to know about.
question 911 was to be labeled an anti-Semite. Even more bizarre, those who questioned the tragedy were equated with Holocaust deniers. And I wondered why. By demanding an independent investigation of what happened on September 11th, I became a political pariah. I was vilified in the press, and the noose tightened around my district. The pro-Israel lobby found someone to run against me, gave her over $1 million for her campaign, and then managed to make the election turn out the wrong way.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Sounded like a jet flying very low. I looked up, I saw a blue and white jet, 2 engines, going obviously in the wrong direction.
You were thinking jet, you were thinking...
Other than blue stripes on a white plane. It sounded too low. I looked up, it looked too low, going in the wrong direction, and I followed it into the building. I could identify other than blue stripes on a white plane. It sounded too low. I looked up, it looked too low, going in the wrong direction, and I followed it into the building.
Police got the call Wednesday from private inspectors for the Park 51 building that a piece of machinery had been found in a narrow 18-inch gap behind the building. Police Commissioner Ray Kelly says NYPD pilots helped figure out what it was.
The assumption is that it's part of a landing gear from one of the 9/11 aircraft.
It has the word Boeing and a serial number on it. It also had a piece of rope with it. And Kelly says police won't rule out the possibility that it was lowered into that narrow space. And after the medical examiner's office checks it, Kelly says there's not much investigators can do. And Kelly says police won't rule out the possibility that it was lowered into that narrow space. And after the medical examiner's office checks it, Kelly says there's not much investigators can do. And Kelly says police won't rule out the possibility that it was lowered into that narrow space. And after the medical examiner's office checks it, Kelly says there's not much investigators.